Hi, my name is Damon Bailey. I am the executive director with Teach for America, Alabama, a nonprofit organization that finds, develops, and supports equity-oriented leaders to transform education and the systems that shape inequity in our state by starting with a 2-year experience in a classroom as a teacher. My journey into this work begins as a 2009 Teach for America Corps member, where I had the pleasure to teach nearly 200 Black children science in a community in Southwest Atlanta for 3 years. Since that time in the classroom, I have always been compelled to understand two critical things as it relates to African Americans in the education system. The first is more of a philosophical question. What's the role of education for African Americans in America? And then the second thing that I usually ask myself is, if that's the role, then what is the current experience of a Black child with the education system in America? And more pointedly, with the education system here in Alabama, since this is the work that we're doing here. When I look back in history and I look at just the role that education has played since the moment the African made their way to America, I find the power of literacy as a vehicle towards liberation, as a key element to the role education has played for African Americans. The fact that there were mere laws created to ensure that enslaved Africans did not learn how to read, did not get an education, signaled the real power that everybody knew was embedded in having a quality education. So much so, and the fact that there were real laws created to ensure that this subgroup of individuals in our country, of American citizens, did not get that education, signaled to me that there was a fear that if African Americans were to become highly literate, get access to the best educational opportunities, then they would find a pathway towards liberation for themselves. And when I look across our entire country and I look across, even our state, when it relates to that very promise, literacy as liberation, I hone in on our most recent reading scores from the Alabama ACAP assessment. And I find that less than half of Alabama students are proficient in ELA. But when I dial down to Black students, only 32% of Black students were proficient. And when I dial down even further and I look at the communities where we place our core members, which are typically characterized by high percentages of families who are on free and reduced lunch, which is a signal of, or a proxy, of the poverty level, I find that even fewer students are finding themselves to be proficient in reading. And so if literacy is liberation, there are so many of our students right now who are not getting the education that they deserve and that they need. And so it is our role and our job to figure out what can be done about this. The job that we're going to do here at Teach for America is to continue to find exceptional leaders who are compelled by that idea, that thought that children deserve more and are capable of more. And we're going to continue to find those folks from college campuses across the state, honing in on our HBCUs, because we know the role that a teacher who shares a racial background of the students they teach can play on college pursuits as well as just academic success. And so we're going to continue to find those folks, and we're going to continue to corral and arrange those folks around those outcomes. We also know that while a teacher plays a critical role in the education of children, a teacher alone is insufficient. Children deserve schools that have the resources that can meet their needs. They deserve to live in safe neighborhoods. They deserve so much more than just a high-quality teacher. And so what we're also doing is helping our alum, our leaders who have finished their 2-year experience, think really critically and broadly about the role that they can continue to play to ensure that there's great policy that allows for resource distribution to the schools where they taught and the families that they served, to make sure that we've got exceptional curriculum and curricular resources that are rigorous, that allow for our students to engage with material that's going to set them up for college and beyond, that we've got great legislation, great policy that ensures and puts a premium, like we do today, on literacy, to make sure that every single child is reading on grade level by the time they hit 3rd grade. And in the Numeracy Act, to ensure that every single child is performing on grade level in math by the 4th grade. We're going to continue to compel these leaders to understand the key barriers, the systems, and the issues that they are most motivated by, and to commit their entire life to figuring out how they're going to continue to play a role, whether that be in the birth to five space, and making sure that there are great pre-K centers and that there's great pre-K learning and education. Or if that be, as an elected official, to make sure that we're creating great policies and legislation to support the conditions that support all families, but most importantly, Black and brown families who find themselves living at or below the poverty line. Or whether that be starting a school that primarily serves Black and brown children to deliver a new way of teaching and learning that can support incredible outcomes. We're going to do everything that we possibly can to mobilize our entire network, our entire base of people around the issue and around the challenges that face Black children in education. We and I believe it's possible. This is a thing that's serving as motivation for me as a Black leader in this work, but this Black History Month. And this is the thing that we hold on to as tightly as we possibly can. The belief that every single child in this state will have access to a high quality education and be able to travel along pathways, durable pathways, to economic mobility in a future that is filled with prosperity.